Hello students, class 11 IP students, class 11 IP students. Today I am discussing very interesting topic, MySQL functions. Okay students, so you can see this is our MySQL functions. Today I am showing how to do practically we will perform. Okay. So MySQL function, first we consider string function. String means we can understand in our language alphabets, words, sentence. Okay. So today practically we can see string function. So first we are starting length function. Okay, this is our length function. So first we start our MySQL. Okay, so start all programs, and then we can select start all programs, then we select MySQL, then MySQL server 5.5 and MySQL 5.5 command line client. I am clicking on this, so you can see this is our MySQL screen. So here I am inputting the MySQL password root. Okay, and our main command is show data bases, enter. So in MySQL server you can see several databases, but I have already created school databases. So first I am going to select use school. Okay, so in school database I want to show how many tables. So here I am using show tables. Okay, so you can see in school database only one table students. So I want to see the structure. So here we to describe student. Okay, so it will display the total column, SID, name, city, date of birth, fees, and with data type integer, where, character, date, decimal. Okay, and a constant you can see primary key on applied on our SID column. Now I want to see the records. Here I am using select star from, here I am using student. So you can see in student table you can see this type of records you can see, but today our main concern is to use SQL function. So here I am using select. Okay, always use select. Then here I am using len, length. Okay, here first here simply here I am inputting suppose India. Okay, then close the bracket and semicolon, then press enter. So simply you can see in select. Okay, select always use. Here I am using length function. Okay, in length function we are here I am mentioning the data India. Okay, so in India you can see how many letters in India. You can see total we have 5 letters, 1 2 3 4 5. So length function will give 5 letters. Okay, so in length function you can see we have total 5 letters. Now suppose here I am using again select. You always use select. Okay, length. Here I am using another, suppose computer. Okay, so in computer you can see how many letters. You can see count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So total we have total you can see we have 8 letters. So length function count any string number of characters, 8 characters. Okay, suppose here I am using select. Here I am using length, here I am using length function. Suppose here I am using Python. Okay, so you can see in Python how many letters. You can see we have 6 letters. Okay, here 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay students, so you can see in Python 6 letters. So in MySQL index start directly from 1. But in Python index start from 0. But in MySQL index directly start from 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. But here I am using select start from. Here I am using student. Okay, so this is our table, but here length function I want to apply on this table. Okay, separately we can see how many letters, but I want to apply, suppose I want to see the apply on name column. So here I am using select, suppose name from. You can see student. Okay, so you can see here I want to show only select name column, but I want to see the name column length. So here I am using select, here I am using length, here I am passing the column name, here I am passing the column name from, here I am using student. Okay, now you can see in name column every student length you can see. Okay, in Raj you can see 3 letter, Sohan you can see 5, Mohan 5, Nitin 5, Amit 4. Okay, so you can see, but here I want to show together name column comma length also, length. Okay, in this style I want to show the data. Okay, I want to know how many letters in every student name with name or with according to the length. So you can see here clearly we can see in Raj you can see 3 letters, Sohan you can see 5 letters, Mohan you can see 5, Nitin. Okay, so this is very meaningful output. So in this, using the length function we can easily count and see the how many letters for each every student. Okay, so suppose here I am using city. Okay, here we can use city column. Okay, so here so we can also see the city. Okay, how many letters in the city. So you can see, in city Kota 4 letters, Ajmer 5, Pali 4, Rajkot 6. Okay, so length function is multi-purpose function we can use to see the output. You can use in multiple styles. Okay, length, suppose here I am using length, name. Okay, here I am using name. Okay, here I am using city. Okay, here I am using again length, city. Okay, from student. So in this multi-purpose, here first show name, then we can see the length. Again it will display city and length. Okay, it will display the city. Okay, now you can clearly see multiple thing you can see in one place. Raj 3 letters, Kota 4. Okay, so in character oriented data we can length will useful to count how many letters in a letter. But here we can also use in this length function in our fees also. Okay, so there is no problem, we can use fees length from student. So you can see, now you can see in fees you can see 6. So including dot you can see total 6 digit, including dot you can see total 6 digit. Okay, so you can see here we can also use length function. Suppose in date of birth. Okay, so we can use date of birth column. Okay, now you can see including days you can see total 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so you can see, so length function we can use in our all. So directly first we use length column and we can in bracket we can pass any column name. Okay, so especially we can use to count the number of letters in a particular name we can use. Okay, length function we can also use in selectively data. Suppose select name, here I am using length. Okay, here I am using name. Okay, from student, here I am using where. Okay, where SID suppose here I am using greater than 103. So here only SID greater than 103 will count. Okay, so here here I am also using the SID column. Okay, so you can see this is our advanced command. In this advanced command, what is the output? Here it will select only SID 103. Okay, 104, 105, 106, 107. But I want to see only SID, name and length. Selectively row SID greater than 103. So you can see this output you can see, and it will. So you can see length function we can use our selectively column, different data type column with column name, with data type, with okay, we can also use in our where command. So we have multiple things we can use in our length function. Okay, so same thing we can use our upper function, lower function, concat function, left function. Okay, so oh, this type of thing we can use. So here I am using select, here I am using upper function, so here I am using a small letter, here I am using computer. Simply we can use computer. So so upper function will convert this computer in capital letters. Okay, so another we have same thing we can use U case. Okay, same function we can use select U case. Okay, here I am using computer. Okay, now you can see in a U case, so same in bracket we will mention it will display computer in capital letter, but I want to use upper function on our name column. Okay, on our name column. So you can see our all the name you will see in capital letter. Okay, so same thing we can use lower function. Here I am using suppose here I am using computer in capital letter. Okay, so anything in capital letter will convert into small letter. Okay, so you can see here same thing we can use select. Here I am using L case. Okay, here I am using. Okay, so this L case will convert this computer into small letter. Same thing we can use. Okay, in our name column. Okay, but name column already name in our small letter, so there is no effect. You can see as it is, you can see. Okay, but comparatively you say you select name. Okay, comparatively you see here I am using upper function and name. From here I am using student. Okay, now you can see now this is our original column and here I am applying the upper name, so it will convert all the name in capital letters. Okay students, so you can see. Okay, here I am using select name, here you can see upper name. Okay, this output we know, but here I am using lower, inside here I am using upper. Okay, name. Okay, here I am using from student. Okay, now you can see the output name is our original column, upper name it will convert this name into capital letters, but here I am using nesting of function. So first it will convert the name into upper function, then upper function again convert into the lower function. So again you can same thing you again see again. First name column it will select, then all the name convert into upper means capital letters, and then again this output will convert into the lower. So again same output you will see again. So again this will convert into the lower case. So we can use nesting of function also. Okay, now next function is our concate function. Okay, so we can use concate. Select concate means we can suppose here I am using suppose Python. Okay, here I am using Python is, and here I am using language. Okay, now you can see Python is separate string and language is our separate string, but in this output you can see Python language. Okay, but there is no gap, so for this gap we can use select concate. Here I am using Python. Okay, here I am using space, then here I am using double quotes, then we can use language. Okay, now you can see okay, so concate. Okay, here spelling we can change. Okay, so here we can use concate. Okay, now you can see concate. Okay, so Python, here I am using space, so you in output you can see space also. Okay, and language, so you can see. Now here I am using this function concate function. Suppose concate function we can use, suppose here I am using Raj, here I am using Mehta. Okay, so you can see Raj is our separate string, Mehta is our separate string. So in output you can see Raj Mehta. Okay, suppose here I am using select, here I am using suppose concate, here I am using Vinod, here I am using Jane. Okay, so you can see in concate different string we can merge, we can join. So you can say Vinod Jain. Okay. So here we can use our name column, concat. Here our name column we know very well, and CT. Okay, from here I am using from student table. So you can see here, you can see Raj Kota, Sohan Ajmer, Mohan Pali, Nitin Ajmer, Amit Jamnagar, Sumit Jamnagar, and Mohit Rajkot. So concat function will join multiple string into convert into the one string. Okay. Now next function is our left function. Okay. So first we clear left functions. Suppose here I am using computer. Okay. Here I am using 1. Okay. So what is the output? So left function. So I want to see only starting one letter on the left side. So it will display computer C. In output you can see C. Okay. Now here I am using 2. So you can see on the left side only 2 letters you can see, CO. Okay. Suppose here I am using 3. So in left side you can see COM. Okay, COM. In left side here I am using 4. So you can see COMP. So in output you can see COMP. So on the left side we can see the number of letters. So this function we can apply on our name column left. Okay, here I am using name, here I am using 2 from student. Okay, now you can see in name column starting 2 letters you can see using the left function. Now we can use right function. Okay, so right function we can use. Here I am using, suppose computer, here I am using 1. So what is the output? So in the last it will select only one character. So you can see R. Suppose here I am using select, here I am using right, here you can see here I am using computer. Okay, here I am using 2. So you can see in right side here you can see ER. Its last letter you can see ER. Okay, suppose here I am using select, right, here I am using computer, here I am using 3. So what is the output? You can see in right side 3 letters you can select, Python will select, MySQL will select, and you see the result. But here right function we can use on our name column. Okay, here I am using 3. So what is the output from student? Now you can see, now is last 3 letters you can see in every name. Okay, student. So left function you can see, right function you can see. Now here I am using mid function. Okay, so what is the use of mid function? Here I am using mid, here I am using computer. Okay, here I am using starting from, here I want to see put. So what is the put? You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 in 4 position. Okay, how many letters you want to see? 3. So you can see, so the 4 means starting position. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here P will, position of P is 4. In this position I want 3 characters. So here we mention 3. So it will select put. Suppose here I am using 2. So what is means in 4th position? I want to see number of letters 2. So it will select PU. Okay. Now here I am using 1. So you can see in 4th position I want to see only one letter. So it means only P it will give. So in mid function we can select in middle our data. Same thing we can use with the help of sub-str. So mid function and sub-str function give the same output. Okay, so here I am using starting 4th position 1, 2, 3, 4, and in this position I want 3 letters. So it will give put. Okay, again sub-str, here I am using 2. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and here you can see 2 letters. So PU will give, and same thing we can use 1. So here 4th position I want only one letter, so it will select 1. So you can either use mid function or either you can use sub-str function. But in sub-str first you mention string, then we can mention our starting position, and after we can mention how many letters from this position we can mention. Okay, now this function we can use our name column. Here I am using suppose 2 comma 1. Okay, so from student table. So you can see, so in our name column, in starting 2 position 1, you can see this data. Here I am using, suppose select name mid. Here I am using name comma 2 comma 2. Suppose from, you can see student. So you can see, so you can see in second position total 2 letters, so AJ. In second position 2 letters, you can see OH. In second position OH. In second position IT. In second position MI. In the second position UM. Okay, now same thing you can use, either you can use mid or you can use sub str, so both will give the same output. Okay, so in second position how many letters? So you can see 1 by 1. Suppose Mohit in second position, so OH you will see. So either you can use sub str or mid function to see output in middle position. Okay, so mid function and sub str you can see. Now here okay, now we have several functions. Okay, now this is our trim function. Okay, so what is the output of trim function? We can use trim. Here I am using some space, 1 2 3. Here I am using Raj, and again you can see some space. Okay, so trim function remove front space and back space. Okay, suppose select trim. Here I am using Rohit. Okay, here I am using, so you can see in Rohit before some space and after some space. So trim function remove all the space from front and back. Here I am using L trim function, L trim. Okay, so you can see right side. So 1 2 3. Here I am using Raj. So you can see in right side some space. So L trim function will remove the front space. Okay. Here I am using, suppose R trim function. Okay, so you can see Raj. Here I am using in back side 1 2 3. Okay, so the R trim function will remove space from the rear side. So you can see. Okay, so in rear side there is no space. So we have 3 functions: trim, L trim and R trim. Trim function will remove from front space, remove, and back space remove. You can see L trim only remove front space and R trim will remove back side space. So you can see only output, you can see 3 letters. Okay, you can see, so back side space will not available. So you can see we can remove our front side space, back side space. Okay, with the help of this function. Now okay, the trim function, now trim, L trim. Now we have 2 remaining function, instr function. Okay, so we can use select instr. Here I am using computer. Okay, here I am using put. So what is the position of put? So you can see in computer, this is our main string, and put, this is our sub string. So the put is starting from the 4th position. Okay, suppose here I am using OM. So computer is our main string and OM is our sub string. So the position of OM in the string, in this main string, we can say the 2nd position. So it will give 2. Suppose here I am using TER. So TR is the part of this computer, but the position of TR you can see 1 2 3 4 5 6. So output of instr you can see 6. Okay, so instr we require 2 things, main string and sub part. The position of sub part it will show. Okay students, now we have last function, character function. Okay, so we can use character function. So before character function we know the very well the position of ASCII value. So 65 to 90 we know very well capital A to Z, 97 to 122 we know small a to Z, and 48 to 57 you can see 0 to 9. So this thing you can see. So we can pass the numerical value and it will give the alphabet. So we can use our CHR function. Okay, so you can see here I am using select, here I am using CHR, here I am, suppose here I am using 65. So what is the output? So in 65 in ASCII table it will give A. Suppose I want to use select CHR, here I am using 66. So we know very well okay, the spelling mistake, so we can use 66, so it will give B. Here I am using select CHR, here I am using 67, so it will give C. Okay, here I am using select CHR, here I am using 97, so 97 will give small a, because we know very well in 97 always A. So 98 we can see B, 90, so C we can say 99. So small c you can see using select character we can use 99. So it will give C. Okay. Now you can also see our numerical values 0, 9. So we can use 48. So here I am using select CHR, here I am using 98. Sorry, we can use 48. So what is the value on this ASCII character? You can see 0. Here I am using select CHR. Here I am using 49. So 49 will give 1. So with the help of this code, inputting this code, you will get capital A to Z. But you remember 65 to 90. Small A to Z you can use 97 to 122, and 0 to 10 you can use this ASCII value 48 to 57. Okay students, so today I am discussing our string MySQL function. Hope you understand this thing. Thank you so much.